Hi everyone, welcome to my relational advice blog for relational communication, COM 451 at Grand Canyon University. In the situation presented in the first part of the assignment, there were miscommunications of the roles that each parent had for the other. And due to their lack of communication, an argument ensued and began to cause turmoil in the relationship. In the following advice provided, I will explain background, personality, worldview, and culture, as well as the importance of emotion and listening in relationships. Discussing both Patricia and Steve as separate individuals and their beliefs will provide better context on why they had the expectations that they did in their new roles. I will also go over recommendations about the expression of emotions and active listening, both in how to think about the issue as well as what to do and how to behave. Context of an individual is key to understanding them and their communication style. In this scenario, Patricia and Steve did not have a clear discussion on how their roles would be changing as new parents, and did not discuss their expectations for each other in their new roles. They both also allowed their feelings of frustration to build until an argument ensued, rather than having a discussion with each other when they both realized their expectations were not being met. According to our textbook, Reflect and Relate by McCornack and Morrison, our self is influenced by three outside forces: gender, family, and culture. In the case of Patricia and Steve, they were both raised in different ways and therefore had different expectations going forward in their new roles. Steve was raised in a very traditional sense. He had a large family, and his mother stayed at home and tended to the household while his father often worked multiple jobs in order to support their household. So he was not home a lot. They were raised in a strict Catholic environment and where the man was the head of the household and was the provider, while the woman was second under her husband and was the nurturer. Steve was used to his mother overseeing the house and making sure dinner was cooked, shopping was taken care of, the house was clean, and the children were tended to. Steve's father was the disciplinarian in the household and the one that made sure there was enough money to keep the household running. They did not live close to other family members, so all the help that came was from the family living in the household. Since this is how Steve had grown up, this was his expectation of how things would be in his new role as a father. Patricia grew up in a household with a single mother. They were not religious and things were not regulated in the house. They lived in the moment, and when things needed to get done, the whole household would help for the chores to go faster. Since Patricia's mother was raising a family by herself, they relied heavily on friends, neighbors, and family that lived nearby and had a village-like mentality. Everyone helped each other, and there were no assigned roles. They were very much in the phrase, "it takes a village." Patricia and Steve, growing up in such varying households, had them both imagining different scenarios for how the household and family should be ran. Neither scenario is wrong, and both scenarios worked for their specific families. But if you tried to switch how the households were run in each family, then their structure would fall apart, and it would not work. Each family built an expectation and structure for their family based on their needs and their resources that were available to them. However, when such varying beliefs come together, it can cause turmoil when each partner realizes that their old beliefs are not working for their current situation, and it can be hard to change their past roles and beliefs and come together in harmony. Now that Patricia and Steve have come to the realization that their current plan is not working, it has resulted in an argument and for feelings to get hurt. It is important that each of them will take a moment to step back and to have their love for one another trump their differences. They need to sit down and have a logical discussion about their expectations in the household for themselves and their partner. They need to come to an agreement on their roles and what is expected within them. It is important to remember that because these new roles and expectations are not within the normal for either of them, to have compassion and patience when things are not going as planned. Having open and loving communication with each other will allow them to continue evolving into their roles and remain a team with each other. Verbal communication is not the only important aspect that the couple needs to look out for and to nurture, but it is also important for them to work on their nonverbal communication skills. This time in their life as new parents is tumultuous and confusing, but if they would remain in tune with their partner, they probably would have picked up nonverbal communication cues that something was not right long before that argument had ensued. If they could have pointed this out, a discussion would have began and they would have avoided an argument to begin with. Noyes and Yu, in their 2015 article, Recognition of Facial Expressions of Negative Emotions in Romantic Couples, have predicted greater relationship satisfaction and better communication when partners are able to pick up on the nonverbal cues of negative emotions in their spouse. It is crucial to clearly express emotions and to actively listen when emotions are being relayed to you or when you are receiving feedback during these conversations. It is important to remember that in a situation like with Patricia and Steve, you are both learning how to navigate this new position in your lives together, and it is going to be challenging for the both of you. However, clear communication and discussion and expressing your emotions is essential. And if you don't ever communicate how you truly feel, you cannot expect your partner to help in facilitating the changes that are necessary for them to be more peace and understanding. It is equally important to listen when you are in mid-conversations such as these. Listening includes taking your background knowledge of the person into account for how they are feeling and communicating. Active listening is also being able to read your partner's nonverbal communication, whether it is negative or positive in response. When there are disagreements brought up within a communication, it is important to recognize them and try to come to a compromise. It is not possible that you and your partner are going to agree on everything, but it is important to come to an agreement on how you will proceed in the future. This will allow you to set a realistic set of expectations in order to move on peacefully in the future. Communication within relationships is not always easy, and there will always be disagreements and hiccups throughout the course of the relationship. Being able to take your partner's background into account and understand where they are coming from is an important first step in the communication process. The next step is being able to sit down and have a conversation with your partner to genuinely express how you are feeling in the moment and what your expectations are. Actively listening to their emotions and recommendations, as well as picking up on their nonverbal communication is key to coming to a peaceful conclusion and to establish realistic expectations for you and your partner and to be in agreement with them. These steps will allow you to be better in tune with your partner, better at communicating with them, and better at navigating those tumultuous points when they do arise. Thank you so much. Have a great day.